for everyone to please welcome our first prepared speaker for the evening, Frans Nortje, with his speech, "Failure is not the opposite of success, it's the price we pay for it." Failure is not the opposite of success, it's the price we pay for it. Frans Nortje.
Most people avoid failure by not participating. I don't want to do that because I'm scared that I might fail. So we do not participate. But when we look at history, the message is clear. It's the fastest way of falling behind. Falling behind in life, falling behind in business, in work, falling behind, not being able to improve or explore new avenues. So by talking about history, let me take you back to 1902. There was a company called 3M. Do you know that company? They started as a mining company. They've mined corrodium. It's an abrasive that they use for sanding paper and so forth. So when they started to mine, it was a substandard, and they sold one shipment only. And because it was substandard, people were not interested. They simply couldn't be bothered to buy this commodity. It was a failing company right from word go. The interesting thing is that the employees stayed behind. They were hoping that something might come from this company. They worked at a deferred salary. Well, you can imagine what the investors did. They were complaining, they got anxious. And then the board members, they never gave up. They've met on a weekly basis discussing what's going to happen and how they're going to tackle this problem. And then they decided that they will now change from mining to manufacturing. And then in 1914, there was a new general manager. He took over. He was William L. McKnight. So there was a small little storeroom, about 3 meters, I think about this size, or this size. So he emptied it out. It's small, isn't it? He emptied it out. He bought about $500 of equipment. Well, it's about 10,000 rand today. He bought equipment, and they started to experiment. And months later, the first product appeared on the market. 3M Height. You can have a look. It's still on the catalogs today. And then success flowed. All of a sudden, it was wet or dry. You remember Post-its?
Oh yes.
Isn't it? Fantastic story. Do yourself a favor and read about Post-its. And all other strange and wonderful creations and stuff that they came up with. The one that I like, of course, the most is the tape, the masking tape. I normally have it in my toolbox, you know. And one day I used to use it on my motorbike. I lost my exhaust pipe. I simply taped it onto the bike and it got there. That's the story of 3M. Isn't it a success story? Because they continued and they were not afraid to fail. They've got a policy. You know what that policy is saying? They allow their staff 15% failure rate. All new commodities, they allow their staff to really do research and to fail. You'll find that they're not scared of failure. They embrace it. And then they explore new avenues. So I would say, maybe to bring it home, can you not hear me? To bring it home, and when you think about Toastmasters, of course, you need to participate to grow. I'm going to use another company, Johnsons and Johnson. You know that company? Started in 1886. Yes, manufacturing surgical tape, bandages. That's how they started. So by 1890, they were really going strong and they were floating. And money started to come in. And then they received a letter from a doctor, a medical doctor. And the doctor complained. He said, listen here, my patients, they all complain about skin irritation caused by the plasters that you sell. So Dr. Frederick Kilmer, he was the scientific director. And he explored a couple of avenues, and then he realized that I can use sterilized talc powder, add it to the bandages, and off the business went. So all the patients and customers asked for more and more and more of this magic powder. And then Johnsons and Johnsons realized that this new commodity is better than the product that what we have. And guess what? They've launched very famous Johnsons and Johnsons baby powder. Out of total failure. But they were saying, failure is our biggest commodity. Can we live with that? So think about it. Failure is our biggest commodity. If you think about it, they've acted on feedback. You were talking about feedback earlier. They were not afraid. They've acted on feedback. They've adopted. They've changed. And today they're still in business. Maybe I'll give one more example of an older business. IBM. You're all familiar with IBM. They started in 1911. That was way before computers, people. So they manufactured time clocks and mechanical accounting systems and all these strange and wonderful things. And then computers were launched. The board was slow to respond. And they've asked themselves the following questions. Do you think it is important that we change to the new technology? Do you think our customers will accept the new technology? Do you think it's worth our risk? Because by 1950, they were floating. They were in the pound seat. It was one of the leading companies. So they've asked themselves, is it really worth our risk? They've decided that they're going to go for it. And you all know IBM became the leaders in the computer industry for decades. For absolutely decades. They've set the standard. Although the risk was massive. If you really think about it, they had a lot to lose. They were not afraid, took the challenge, and they became a mighty company. This can continue into Netflix. You know the story of Netflix? It used to be a business mailing CDs, and they had to change and adopt to international streaming. Isn't that a great story? They knew that if they don't change it, they don't adapt, that they will lose. So I'm way over my time. I'm going to leave you with the following message. And that is that if you, after tonight, decide that you don't want to participate because you're scared to fail, remember the lessons from history. And that is that you can go all through centuries. It's always the same lesson. Many years, different companies, but do remember that failure is the fuel for growth And when you leave here tonight, do remember that failure is the fastest way to success and to grow and to achieve new heights. Thank you.
Okay, we're now going to have the Q&A. For those of you who are guests, ordinarily we would have an evaluation straight after the speech, but today is a bit of a different meeting, and Frans is going to be the first one in the hot seat. Annelies.
Yes, Frans, so listening to your speech, what would you say is almost the golden thread throughout all these businesses? I know you say failure is fuel, but if you think about it, what were the steps that they followed to present as a success in the end?
Yes. So I would say there's a couple of things. What is important, I think, is of course you will always find that leadership need to make the decisions. So in a case where leadership, if they're slow, then it might not have happened. Like IBM, for example, so leadership were rather slow, but then eventually they adopted. So definitely it's important to have a look at leadership. There's a saying, and the saying goes that countries rise and fall on leadership. And that is as simple as that. So that's one of the things. Of course, understand the market. Again, like IBM, what did they do? They have analyzed the market and they've come to realize that this is what we need to do to survive. And exactly the same with Johnson's & Johnson's and the same with 3M. So do understand the market. Be willing to change. Be like a river. Don't be stuck like a corporate in a square, because that's going to cost you the business at the end of the day. Did I answer you?
Yes. I think you said, which one was it? Johnson & Johnson, adapt. Do you think that companies are open for feedback from customers regarding that?
See, that's important, and this is exactly what was mentioned earlier. Most companies not, which is a pity, because immediately when you give them feedback, and when you look at the service industry today, I mean, the service industry in South Africa is almost non-existent. When you give feedback, then the companies will get aggressive and they will attack you almost for that feedback. So companies normally are not open, but you will find that companies that are open to feedback, they will accelerate.
Thank you for that one. Then two minutes.
Two more.
Two questions.
Yeah.
Then the other one was change. How do you think how open are companies towards change? I think if you look at any workplace, if you want people to change, there's always resistance. How did they manage to become a success despite maybe the resistance to change?
I think we need to have a look at each company individually, because they all might have a different strategy in place. But when you look at Jim Collins, Good to Great, you'll find that he's talking about the hedgehog effect. So you get good in one thing, and then once you're good in one thing, you can easily adapt to something else. And with regards to this, when we look at 3M, for example, they were desperate. I mean, they had absolutely nothing left, and they needed to change. So they changed the focus. But also then to answer you, some corporates you'll find, especially corporates, are extremely difficult to change. They don't want to change. You know, it's almost impossible because of rules and regulations and structures. It's almost impossible. But when you read, I don't know if you know Jack Welch.
Yeah.
He said that you need to be number one or number two, because that was his slogan for General Electric. He said to be number one or number two, you must be able to operate like a small business and not like a corporate. So it's important. So again, your leadership is important. The people with the product knowledge is important, and you need to understand the markets.
I think Fernando also mentioned the growth mindset. So how do you think they went about to get that into the companies, to get the people to follow the leaders on this path towards success?
Yeah, look, I think again when we look at 3M, They absolutely had no choice, you know. I mean, they had staff. The staff were already willing to work at a reduced salary. So they had absolutely no other choice. But they believed, and you know what I think personally? I don't know, but what I think is because the leadership at the weekly board meetings, that created some sort of a trust within the leadership. And I think that's important. So, you know, you need to follow the leaders or do what the leaders do, but you can only do that. They really create a platform that you can trust and that you are comfortable with and say, yes, I can really walk the line with this company. But of course, if they were also not, you know, trustworthy, or they stopped, if they didn't plan and kept on planning, I think it would basically be impossible for that company then to go.
Thank you. Thank you, we're out of time. Thank you.